Awesome. I am Sydney. I'm a co-organizer with Sunrise New Haven. Shout out Sunrise New Haven. First, before we go into diving why we are here today, we would like to respectfully acknowledge that we live on the territory of the Eastern Pequot, Golden Hill Pecusset, Lenape, Mohegan, Nipmuc, and Schaghticoke nations, and they have lived here on these lands and waters for countless generations. Before the onslaught of colonization, like indigenous peoples across America and the world, they experienced genocide, ethnic cleansing, theft of land and waters, and forced removal. Our ability to live, work, and enjoy this area is deeply connected to their loss. And alongside that, we must acknowledge that much of what we know today has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their ascendants who have suffered the horror of transatlantic trafficking, slavery, and Jim Crow. And we are indebted to their labor and must acknowledge the violence that we are still feeling and witnessing today. Again, welcome everyone. I'm so happy to be here with all of you today. We have hot cocoa and coffee and donuts in the back and signs and hand warmers, so please grab what you need. Again, I'm an organizer with Sunrise New Haven, and we are a local chapter of a national youth-led climate movement. We're here today for our first public event for the Climate Super Fund. Woo! And while our speakers will talk more about that today, this is a Make Polluters Pay piece of legislation, and we've been organizing alongside fossil-free media, and this week is the National Make Polluters Pay Week of Action. And Connecticut, alongside dozens of states across the country, including Rhode Island, Maine, Oregon, and so many more, are advocating this week for Make Polluters Pay. Why I'm also so happy here today, I'm also really sad. We just came off a crazy snowstorm, and I've spent this week seeing kids play in the snow, and dogs play in the snow, and some beautiful landscapes. And it makes me really sad because as young people, we have to sacrifice such precious years of our life fighting for a problem that we did not create. And I know other young people today are feeling the same thing. And I'm afraid for my friends, I'm afraid for my family, I'm afraid for all the people that are here today, and my two younger brothers who are 6 and 9. But today I feel really, really grateful to be here with all of you, and thank you, shout out to our legislators that are also here today. And it's days like this where the fear and the sadness are really overcome by the feelings of being connected and gratitude for folks that have been in this fight for decades more than I have. So first, I'm going to quickly shout out some of the orgs in our coalition and are also here today. So please, if you're part of that org, give it a little whoop whoop. We have the Connecticut Conservation Law Foundation, Connecticut League of Conservation Voters, Mothers Out Front from Connecticut, CCAG, Connecticut Climate Crisis Mobilization, Sunrise Wesleyan, Sunrise Connecticut, Sunrise New Haven, Climate and EJ Task Force, Connecticut Zero Waste Coalition, Food and Water Watch, Nonprofit Accountability Group, Citizens Climate Lobby, Connecticut NOFA, Save the Sound, Third Act Connecticut, Richmond Committee of the Environment, Interreligious Eco-Justice Network, Connecticut Shoreline Indivisible, DSA Connecticut, ACLU Connecticut, and so many other organizations. Holy caboodle! So, we have an incredible set of speakers here today, and just reading off that list is so incredible with how much representation we have today. And then after our great speakers, we will be walking to the LOB to do some letter writing. So get warm, get some snacks, get some coffee. But here to kick off our speakers is Juliana, who is an incredible climate organizer with with Sierra Club Connecticut. I wish she was a part of Sunrise. And I have been so deeply lucky to organize with her, and is genuinely an inspiration to me every single day. So with that, I'm so excited to hear her remarks on the Superfund.
Awesome. I don't know how I can top that, but I will try. Thank you for being here today. My name is Juliana LaRue, and I'm an organizer with the Sierra Club Connecticut. Before we begin, we need to name the important moment we're living in. Many of us are reeling from the Trump oil-motivated intervention in Venezuela, the horrifying killing of Renee Good in Minnesota, and now the fatal shooting of Alex Preddy by ICE. These are not isolated instances. They are part of a pattern of violent federal enforcement that has left families grieving and communities living in fear. And we are here today to say this clearly and together. We will not tolerate this violence. We will not look away, and we will not allow their lives to be forgotten or ignored. This lawless administration is making it harder for people to be safe, harder to breathe clean air and drink clean water, harder to walk through our neighborhoods without fear, harder to afford health care and energy bills. If you're feeling overwhelmed, like me, if it's hard to focus, if it's hard to know where to take a meaningful action, that makes sense. So I want everyone to take one big breath together right now. We are here together. We are not alone, and we are not powerless. And that's exactly why we are here today, to urge Connecticut to do more about the polluters that are causing the climate crisis and leaving us with the bill for the damages. We are here because we are tired of paying for the price of a crisis we did not create. We refuse to let polluters rewrite the rules and escape accountability. Let's tell the truth. Big oil caused the climate crisis. They knew, they lied, and they profited off of us. And now oil and gas lobbyists are urging Congress to give them legal protections and immunity from lawsuits meant to hold them accountable. Do you want to know what that means? We're making them scared. These laws that are being passed are making big oil scared, and they want legal protections because they know what they're doing is wrong. The same corporations that fueled climate chaos now want to be above the law. That is unacceptable. Here in Connecticut, the costs of climate change are already hitting home. $5 million was the cost to clean up and deal with one wildfire in Connecticut. $53 million is the cost to Connecticut farmers due to climate damages in 2023. $300 million is the cost of the deadly flooding in Southbury, Connecticut in 2024. $5.3 billion is the cost to defend against sea level rise in Connecticut just by 2040. So let's be clear. Connecticut communities are paying while polluters rake in profits and demand legal immunity. No industry is above the law. No president is above the law. Everyone say that. No president is above the law. Not oil, not gas, not any corporation that knowingly caused harm. If working families are forced to pay for climate disasters, then the companies that cause the crisis must pay their fair share. Right now, Connecticut leaders have a clear choice. Keep sticking taxpayers with the bill, or pass a climate superfund law, which finally makes polluters pay. That's what making polluters pay is all about: fairness, accountability, and justice. So let our message today be loud and impossible for legislators in Connecticut to ignore. No legal immunity, no corporate handouts, no more passing the bill to the public. Thank you all so much, and for braving the cold to be here today.
Thank you so much. Incredible. Again, round of applause for Juliana. Has been genuinely the backbone of this organizing, so we cannot be grateful enough for her. Our next speaker is another incredible legacy young organizer in Connecticut, one of my inspirations and also, luckily, my roommate. But I'm introducing Senna Wazer, who is an organizer with Sierra Club Connecticut and a part of the No Pipeline Expansion Northeast campaign.
Good afternoon. My name is Senna Wazer, and I organize against fossil fuel expansion with Sierra Club Connecticut. I was 14 years old when I first started to really understand what climate change would mean for my future. I remember feeling this sense of dread and terror that the future I had imagined for myself, for my little sister, friends, my generation was maybe not something that I could count on. I remember having this vision for the future disappear in the blink of an eye, only to be replaced by uncertainty. What would climate change mean for the farm that I grew up on? What would it mean for the shoreline that my grandparents lived near, already wrecked once by Superstorm Sandy? What would it mean to want to grow up and have kids if I didn't honestly feel like I could say, I can keep you safe? So I started organizing. I started asking, demanding, begging the people who hold power over the kind of climate action that we do or do not take to please do the right thing. To stop expanding fossil fuels, to focus on clean energy, invest in environmental justice communities, and prioritize our health over corporate greed. And then in 2024, President Trump got elected again. He called out the Northeast and California as areas in which he specifically wanted to expand methane gas, a fossil fuel that is 80 times more powerful than carbon dioxide over 20 years and is responsible for about 30% of global climate change. Not to mention causing asthma and other cardiovascular and respiratory health issues, all while raising our prices. The number of pipelines, the amount of infrastructure that we have been fighting since the election of President Trump has increased. And when our governor and others across the region were presented the choice between allowing these projects to move forward or standing up despite it being hard, they chose the easy way out, allowing our communities to take the fall while fossil fuel companies and their political allies get rich. And that's the part that hasn't really changed over the past 50 years. Companies like Exxon, like Shell, BP, Enbridge, or TC Energy profit and flourish while the rest of us get sicker and climate change gets worse. I am here today because I fight fossil fuels, because I fight for young people to have a future that we can count on, because I believe that we can live in a world that is more just than this. To live in that world, though, we need to make polluters pay. And that is why I am so grateful to be here with all of you today, because I am proud to stand alongside you as we say no new fossil fuel expansion, no new methane gas. I am proud to stand alongside you as we say our community's health is worth more than some pipeline. I am proud to stand alongside you as we say our future over corporate profit. I am proud to stand alongside you as we say make polluters pay. We are in a moment right now in our country where we must reckon with not only the future but also the present. Will violence against immigrants, against protesters, against women and queer people be normalized? Will we allow division to tear us further apart? Will we allow corporations across industries to profit off of creating harm? I don't believe that we will. Instead, I believe that we will stand together. I believe that we will hold corporations and the politicians who enable them accountable. I believe that we will protect our most vulnerable neighbors, whether that be from ice or from the pollution in their backyard. I believe that we will stand up to defend our future. I believe that we will demand real climate action now, stopping the construction of new fossil fuel infrastructure and holding corporations accountable. And so now, I turn to the people in the building behind me and I ask, will you stand with us? Thank you to the people who are standing with us. Will you represent the interests of the people, of our communities, and of our climate instead of our corporations? Will you stand up for my future, for my sister's future, for my generation's future? I hope that you will. I thank those who already are, and I invite the rest of them to stand with us as well. Thank you.
Big round of applause for Senna. Thank you so much. Awesome. Our next speaker has been so crucial to our campaign so far and navigating the legal language and just navigating so much of the ins and outs of policy, and we are so grateful to have her as a part of our team. So Kendall will be speaking from the Conservation Law Foundation, and let's give her a really big warm round of applause.
Good afternoon. My name is Kendall Keelan, and I'm an attorney with an environmental nonprofit called the Conservation Law Foundation. And as we stand here today in 20-degree weather, padded by multiple layers, shielded from the winds from our coats, and if you're like me, warmed only by the heat warmers stuffed in my gloves, I'm reminded of what the price is for extreme weather. Over the weekend, Winter Storm Benjamin dumped 1.5 feet of snow on us, leaving folks without power and without heat. And just as we're starting to put away our space heaters and store our flashlights, we're expecting another one. And collectively, we pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to prepare ourselves for these storms. And that doesn't even account how much we pay to crank up the heat in our homes, nor does it include how much we lose if we can't make it to work. These costs add up, and we can't afford to keep footing the bill ourselves. Thank you. We know now what big oil and gas knew then, that fossil fuels exacerbate and worsen extreme weather. It's not fair for Connecticut's families and small businesses to keep paying the price while these companies that are responsible for it continue to make millions off of damages that we have to pay that threaten our homes, our livelihoods, and our loved ones. It's time that they share the price. And now we're here today to call on our legislators, and thank you to those that are among us, to help us hold these companies accountable. Let's make polluters pay. Thank you.
Awesome. Again, let's give a big round of applause for Kendall. Awesome. So I know it's cold. Again, we have coffee. Can't guarantee it's still warm. But we also do have some toe and hand warmers back there if you need them. But to get us a little warm, to get us a little energized, and so our legislators and everyone around us can't forget it, we're going to repeat it, okay? We're going to make polluters. We're going to make polluters. All together, we're going to make polluters pay. Make polluters pay. Make polluters pay. Also, I hope that warmed you up a little bit. All right, so our next speakers are going to give us a little song around CAS in Hartford, which they'll explain a little bit about. Or sorry, not a song, a poem. And I'm so excited to introduce Tanea Taylor and Alicia Jenkins for our next speakers. Let's give them a round of applause.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. Mic check, okay. So let's get it warm up in here with this hot fire. So, I'm Tanea. This is our poem. Make polluters pay. Make polluters pay. Make polluters pay. The air has us choking. I'm not even joking. Why do my lungs feel like I just took up smoking? Gasping for air, but instead we breathe emissions. They poisoned us for too long. I need everyone to listen to what we endure. No clean air if you are poor. Children pay, but not the rich. Corporations that created this. So much asthma from methane gas. They put profits first and people last. Hospital bills and corporate greed are the last thing that the people need. We need safe housing and health care, not pollution and dirty air. We can't breathe without equity. We need accountability. Make polluters pay. Equity, unity, power from the sun. Feel the wind, the energy to begin. Black power.
stand, we a community. We be unity. Fascism deleted so we can be lifted higher. We will rise to make polluters pay so that our children can be free. Stop environmental racism. It's ludicrous. They ridiculous with this weak-ish. They harm in plain sight. It's not right. Sine Pavo, we demand yo. Make polluters pay. Now it's the time to stop the violence in Hartford, New Haven, Bridgeport. Every day we hustling and thrive, and we arrive to make polluters pay. Equity, unity, power from the sun, feel the wind, the energy to begin. Together we will win.
For Alex, Renee, Keith, and all the lost, moment of silence. Let's take a moment for the cause. Pause. Speak up for Venezuela, free the people in cages, still mourning my late abuela, defending my fellow neighbors, meeting with legislators, let's rally and meet up later. The Dems, they better wake up. Get rooted like a potato, it's cooking just like we cater. Listen to what we saying, we asking for reparations. This is for the generations. Let's super fund that paper, make polluters pay up.
Today we stand in solidarity, in the spirit and form with the people. We come together and want to make polluters pay, fight back for the right to breathe, no more taking a knee. We need our kids to see polluters pay on this, the Lord's Day. For Dr. King, let freedom ring. We don't need to pray, we make polluters pay, make polluters pay, make polluters pay, make polluters pay, make polluters pay.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Shania and Alicia, for that awesome, epic poem. I want to give a quick shout out for the crew that set up our amazing balloon over here. Awesome. Please, if you have a chance, take some photos with it, admire the balloon. They're cold and they're fighting the wind. I think the wind in this balloon is a metaphor for the unpredictability of gas prices in Connecticut. So please just take a moment and appreciate the crew and just this awesome picture that we have. All right, so our next speaker is a young person that I recently met, but I had heard of so much for all the incredible, consistent, and impactful organizing that they have done in this state. So I'm so excited to meet them now and hopefully have them in my little network of advocates. But this is Abdul with the Democratic Socialists of America organization to speak, and let's give them a big round of applause.
All right, how are we doing this afternoon? It's cold as hell. All right, we're here to make polluters pay, but let's also state it right. We're here to make polluters pay back what they have taken from us, what they owe us. Where I think there are folks in this audience that we have that can see their personal stakes in this issue, where when I look at this issue, I'm able to see my own personal stakes, where my family, Ghanaian immigrants, moved to the South Bronx to make a better life for their child, where they quickly found out that they were to be the victims of environmental racism, where growing up, out of the siblings that I have, only one of us actually was able to make it out of our teenage years without having to need an inhaler. So when we think about polluters pay, we're thinking about making polluters pay back for the adverse effects that they have wrought upon our communities, our black and brown communities, our indigenous communities, our communities across this country, deep in this state, where to this day we deal with the ramifications of it and how we look at asthma rates, as we look at the brownfields that currently encompass quite a bit of land in this state. So when we think about paying polluters paying back, that is what we think of, because that is what justice looks like, and that is why we're here to build power, to take that power back and make polluters pay back what they owed us. When I look at the town of Hamden, the town that I am happy to serve on the city council of, I look at a long history of polluters and corporations that without a doubt knew that they were coming into our neighborhoods, our communities, to drop off lead, battery waste, leave dangerous chemicals into the atmosphere, where when you look at some of the cancer rates the rates of illness that have occurred in our communities, you can see it clear that polluters have already brought upon the cost to us, whether we're talking about healthcare, whether we're continuing to talk about the infrastructure that we have for our energy and things in that realm. We have already paid the price, and it is time that polluters pay that price as we look towards a vision in a future where we are able to not only breathe clean air, but make sure that that clean air is affordable for us. Where this is a state issue, this is a municipal issue, this is a nationwide issue where we talk about affordability, but I don't want to hear you talking about affordability until we're talking about making sure that these polluters that have been a central, key, core part of this problem are held accountable with their dollars. They should be lucky we're talking about their dollars. Where I hear some folks that have been in this fight and this struggle for such a long time that are continuing to do that work. Are we pledging that we're going to give them our support when it comes time for session? I need to hear that 2 more times. Are you giving them your support? Are you showing up to testify, writing letters when it comes time for session? 1 more time, are y'all coming to support them when it is time? Because I know a thing or two. These people sometimes they're dealing with lobbyists, powerful folks with tons of money that are coming to try to influence and keep things in the way that they have continued to be for time and time again. But what they have in money is not matched by the power that we have here with us today, where we know at least 3 or 5 people that we can call on. We know for some of us that are connected with organizations, other folks that we can connect to make our voice 5 voices, to make our voice 10 voices. And that is what truly gets the work done. Because like I was saying, we are here to take back our power. Because for far too long, we have subsidized the profit of these corporations, allowing them to privatize the profit while adverse consequences have been socialized.
Yes, yes.
They profit off of our pain. And our pain is what we have to pay for in a socialized way, but we say no more to that today. This corporate greed has run amok. This is the corporate greed that has run amok. This is the truest face of capitalism at all angles, and this is why we fight and struggle the fight we fight for. And if the issues and campaigns that we are talking about today mean something to you, I urge you to join this fight, and I tell you that this is your fight, this is your neighbor's fight, this is the person next to us' fight, because I tell you we have nothing much to argue about if we can't even breathe the same clean air on this earth. Thank you. Hope to stay in this fight.
Great, awesome. Thank you so much to do all again. A nice round of applause for our speakers. Awesome, guys. So I know it's cold, so we got to warm ourselves up, right? So I'm going to say a chant that folks might know, but if you don't, just go along with it. So when I say, when our planet is under attack, what do we do? When our planet is under attack, what do we do? When our climate is under attack, what do we do? When our water is under attack, what do we do? When our land is under attack, what do we do? Awesome, fantastic job. All right, so our next speaker is another awesome young person that I in my day have the pleasure to work with. She is a student at UConn and an intern at the Office of Sustainability at UConn, is doing such amazing work to promote environmental issues and address environmental issues on campus. And it is young people like this that get me so energized and excited about the work that they are doing to make our current generation now and future generations better to come. So with that, let's give a warm, excited welcome to Agatha, our next speaker.
Hi, my name is Agatha. I'm a student again at UConn Stanford. And today I have a question for you. When was the last time you felt a bug hit your windshield? We are in the midst of an ecological disaster. A disaster brought on by companies that rape the earth and birth from it pollution and death. They make debts of destruction they cannot afford to pay, and they use our tax dollars as collateral. They use our lives and the lives of your children as collateral. In 2012, Hurricane Sandy left more than 60% of Stanford without power and caused an estimated $7 million in damages. The tides are surging, the East Coast is being buried in floods that people cannot afford, disasters that infrastructure doesn't exist to protect from. City budgets are being sacrificed caring for people who have been assaulted by companies that couldn't care less, done by people who can afford to live far away from the chaos they have brought into the world. That's why we need the Make Polluters Pay bill. The idea is simple. Those who cause the damages should pay for the repairs. Fossil fuel companies knew for decades that their products would destabilize the climate, and they profited anyways. Make them pay. Make polluters pay. Thank you.
Yeah, shout out Agatha! All right, so we gotta make polluters. We gotta make polluters. We gotta make polluters. All right, some serious bars there. All right, awesome. So our next speaker is also an incredible legacy advocate in our state, doing really awesome work. So they are with the ACLU of Connecticut. So let's give a big round of applause to Gus Marks Hamilton.
Thank you, everyone. At the heart of this rally is a simple principle. No one is above the law. But right now, we are living through an explicit assault on the rule of law, an assault on our civil rights, our civil liberties, and democracy itself. We're seeing the Trump administration attempt to rewrite history right before our own eyes. We are living through a calculated campaign to make people give up. But we are stronger than that. We will not take the bait, and we will continue to fight for our most fundamental freedoms, stand up for democracy, and put people first. Over the past year, we've seen climate disasters erupt around the world. In the U.S., we've seen wildfires in the West, tornadoes in the Midwest, and hurricanes in the Caribbean. In Connecticut, we've seen prolonged heat waves in the summer, combined with droughts and extreme precipitation events. The environments we live in have become dangerous to our health, our livelihoods, and our communities. It's undeniable that climate change is happening, and that there is a direct correlation to the increasing number and severity of natural disasters. It's undeniable that human-produced carbon emissions are a direct cause. Climate change in Connecticut is not some distant problem, it's here. We all deserve to breathe clean air, to be able to afford a comfortable, healthy place to live, and to have a say in what gets built in our communities. But for far too many communities, particularly communities of Black and brown residents, these benefits are out of reach. To those of us who are dedicated to protecting civil rights and civil liberties, these are significant threats. A report from the NAACP and Clean Air Task Force shows that African Americans are 75% more likely than other Americans to live in areas situated near facilities that produce hazardous waste. Justice is preventing and stopping fossil fuel companies and corporations from polluting the air and water with toxic waste. Justice is holding polluters accountable. Justice is when the people, not polluters, hold power. We need to ensure that the most vulnerable communities are protected and able to exercise their rights. We've seen what is happening around the country, and we are not going to wait for the same to happen here. We need to stand up for Connecticut values and push back on the Trump authoritarian agenda. We need to remind our elected leaders that we do not accept what the federal government is doing right now. And if we remain united, active, and stand firm in our values, then we will disrupt the harm that is impacting our communities and build something better, stronger, and safer on the other side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, a huge round of applause to Gus. Awesome. Cool. I have two shout outs. First, I just saw more of my crew with Sunrise New Haven pull up, so we gotta give them a huge round of applause. Woo! Awesome. They made some great signs at an art build yesterday, so if anyone wants some awesome signs made and curated by young people, please snag them. Awesome. Shout out Sunrise New Haven. Also, I'm shouting at Claudia because she is standing right in front of me. I want to rally around what your sign is saying. Before I do that, I want to shout out the 9 activists last year that were arrested fighting against climate expansion in our state. I am so grateful to be a part of organizers like you guys that are willing to do so much, especially as a young person fighting for our future. And at this protest, I could not recognize the sacrifice that you guys did in the face of really scary gas expansion in our state. So I just want to hold a huge round of applause, honestly, for the 9 activists last year that were arrested. Shout out, Claudia was one of them. And yeah, shout out, if there was anyone else here, give yourself a big round of a hand. Okay, yay, awesome. Incredible, woo! Oh my gosh. Sorry for the folks that I missed.
Pink shirts for the win, yeah!
Yeah, pink shirts for the win. Awesome. If you guys actually want to come up and like stand right here if you feel comfortable, just for our next call and response, I want to shout out Claudia's poster, which says, "Protest is power." So if you guys all come up, again, these are the activists that got arrested last year fighting against gas expansion at the Lamont office. So with me, we're going to say, protest is power! Protest is power! Protest is power! Protest is power! One more time! Protest is power! Big round of applause! Thank you so much for your sacrifice and all that you do to fight for us and fight for our planet.
Civil disobedience works!
Awesome, so I'm so excited. We're on time. Crazy, this never happens. But I'm so excited to introduce our next speaker, who is a rep for New Haven, so for our community, for our people. And has done awesome work with the Superfund and was actually a legislator that helped introduce it last year. So please give a loud, a warm, and energetic welcome to Steve Winter.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. It is great to be with you out here. It is such a warm, lovely day for a protest. I want to acknowledge my colleagues who are here. Thank you all for showing up on time. That is huge. But I really want to acknowledge all of you, right? It matters right now more than ever in the history of the United States of America for people to be out in public spaces peacefully protesting. This is what democracy looks like when democracy is on life support in this country, when organized federal agents are invading communities and executing residents and American citizens. So we're here to talk about justice on all levels, and I want to acknowledge that up front. But we're really here to talk about climate justice and environmental justice, because in communities like mine, in New Haven and in Hamden, the people who have the least are the ones who are suffering the most. And we're here to demand that the companies that have profited hundreds of billions of dollars from fossil fuel pollution start to pay their fair share. Say, make polluters pay. Make polluters pay. Make polluters pay. One more time. Make polluters pay. Despite what Donald Trump might say from the White House, whether he's knocking it down or building his big golden ballroom, climate change is real. Climate change is real. Climate change is real, and we are paying for it. We are all paying for it right now. The fossil fuel lobby would have you believe that this is going to drive up prices for everybody else, right? No, this is about shifting the cost, bearing the burden of the cost on those who are polluting our atmosphere, who are destroying the climate stability of our planet, and who are foisting the costs onto all the taxpayers of Connecticut and across the country. So we need to make polluters pay. We need to make them pay for the damage that they are causing. And we also need to remember the human toll, right? That when a climate disaster hits a community like Oxford, or where there is a wildfire raging in Berlin, people are dying. These are human costs to our community. So while we're focused on the financial cost and shifting the burden and making polluters pay, we also need to remember that real cost in terms of the lives that are being lost here in Connecticut to catastrophic climate disasters. That's right. So I just want to again thank everybody for being out here. Climate change is real. We're all paying for it right now, and we need to join states like Vermont and New York and saying that it's time that polluters pay. Make polluters pay! Make polluters pay! Make polluters pay! Thank you all.
Again, shout out to Steve Winter and all the legislators that showed up here today. Thank you so much for standing with the Super Fund. Awesome, I know it's cold, so we're almost done with our list of speakers, and then we'll march on over to the legislative building. But I also want to shout out the news outlets that are covering this today and hopefully getting great media coverage for the Super Fund. Shout out to Struggling News, shout out Hartford Current that was here, shout out to other folks that hopefully will cover our pieces. Awesome, so I'm excited to introduce our next and our last speaker with 3rd Act Connecticut, Davina.
Well, you know, it's all been said except for one or two things. One of those is this is fundamentally a moral question. This is fundamental. Anytime it's a justice question, it's a moral question. And we need to understand that making polluters pay, I know you all understand this, but we need to say it loud and clear. Making polluters pay is all about justice, it's all about equity, it's all about the future and the possibility that we might have one. I want you to join me in a chant. End the oligarchy. End the oligarchy. End the oligarchy. Today is only the beginning. A lot of work has preceded this, but today is only the beginning. We start here, we don't end here. The power that we develop over these next weeks and months will make all the difference in the world. And so our job is yes to write the letters, yes to write the emails, yes to show up for rallies and events, yes to do the hard work of holding these polluters accountable. They have known all the time what they were doing. They need to pay now for all of that time, stretching back all those decades. They need to protect us, and we need to end their dominance of our economic system, our dominance of our entire life. Ending the pollution is not all there is to it. It is also about justice. It's about a form of atonement for what they have done. The legislators who stand here today and so many others are going to be doing really hard work on this, and we need to have their backs. Say with me, we have your back. 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 And we are deeply, deeply grateful for all that you do. Now, my friends, this is the beginning, not the end. Rallies often have this feeling of being a life unto themselves, and they are. But this is where it starts. This is where we end the oligarchy. This is where we make the fossil fools pay. The problem is they weren't fools economically, but they have destroyed our lives, and we will hold them accountable. So now I invite you to follow Sierra Club and the Third Act folks and everybody else over to the LOB, where we are going to take step number 2. This is our state. This is our nation. This is our globe. It does not belong to the oligarchs.